Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Chaos Knights painting tutorial, and today we are painting a Chaos Knight War Dog. Now this is currently loaded out in the Stalker variant, however you will be able to use any of the techniques that you find in this video to paint your carnivores, your other ones, brigands, that's the one I was thinking of, huntsman as well, that's another one, and I'm sure there's more. Yeah, we're going to be painting this in the style of House Korvax to go with my other Chaos Knights that I've done. And, well, we're just going to jump in and start painting him. He has been primed in Grey Seer, and the place we're going to start is on all of the legs. Now, the colour we're going to be using first for this is Iron Warriors. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to thin some down on our palette, and then we're just going to start painting this Iron Warriors all over our War Dog's chassis. Now we're just going to be focusing on the legs just for now, because we want to get them all done, then we'll work on the body afterwards. But most of the techniques for painting the body will be explored on the legs, or at least the majority of the colour scheme will be. And there are a couple of unique features on the legs, such as that banner hanging there between his legs. But other than that, there isn't much to go on here. The majority of the unique features are, of course, on the War Dog's body itself. But no matter, we do the legs first and then we do the body. Of course, if you built yours in an entire assembly rather than this similar sub-assembly to what I've got here, you'll of course be able to do this across the entire thing. And don't worry about being particularly neat at this point. If you do happen to make any splodges on places that you definitely don't want to be metallic, just neaten it back up with some Grey Seer. We also want to colour in all of the ribbed cables, so it's not just the mechanical legs, but the kind of textured cables that are around. The smooth ones we're just going to try and avoid for now, but again, doesn't matter too much if we do get some of this on there. And just take the time going around, making sure you get all of it. Kind of just approach it like I am. By just methodically going across all of these areas. So with all of that Iron Warriors applied, we accidentally had a little blob here on this thigh plate, but that's okay, and you'll see why a little bit later on. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to keep going with the metallics. And the colour we're going to be using next is Castellax Bronze. And what we're going to be doing with this is we're just going to be picking out little areas such as these stabilizers and things like that to add a little bit of variation to our metallic frame. And you don't have to do this if you want to go a little bit quicker, but it really does just kind of add that little bit of visual interest to an area that isn't particularly interesting because it's all metallic. So I'm going to be picking out areas such as these two just back here. And actually, one of the main reasons for doing that Iron Warriors over all of this area is just that when you come to do things like this, it covers on quite nicely. You don't have to do too thin coats or anything like that. So we're going to be picking out areas such as that. I'm going to be picking out this little sort of dome speaker type area. Like so. I'm going to pick out any of the smooth cables. So pipes. Like that. And like that. And of course, colour in the rest of these little stabilising units. Just like this. And so with that Castellax Bronze applied to those areas, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Basilicanum Grey and we're going to apply this over the top of the black armour panels. Now this is going to include those thigh plates. Now as you can see, I am just going over the top of that Iron Warriors, and that's okay because this is going to be black. And we actually don't need this to be a particularly smooth coat because, as I've already said, I think twice now, they are going to finally be black. So we don't want it to be kind of completely drowned in grey because then it might get a little bit lumpy and a little bit streaky and horrible when we get that black Templar on there. But for now, we just want to get this Basilicanum Grey all over these details. So this is going to include this plate that I'm doing right now. Like that. The thigh plates, not the knees, but we are going to colour in this little area down here. On the foot. So I guess the ankle armour, in a way. Just like that. Whilst we're waiting for that Basilicanum Grey to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Blood Angels Red and we're going to apply this over the top of the knee pads. Now here we do want to get a reasonably smooth coat, so you just want to be very careful here. Look out for any pools. Or any dark build up. And just glide across the surface of these knee pads. Much like I'm doing here, just like that. Still waiting for those areas to dry. What we're going to do is we're going to take some Darkoath Flesh and we're going to apply this over the top of the banner. Now you could do this in like a colour of a fabric, like a red or a blue or whatever, but you know, actual cloth banners are for loyalists. And we're going to go for a flesh banner. So we're going to take this Darkoath Flesh and we're just going to paint this over the top of the flag. Just like that, using these nice big broad brush strokes. And we'll of course want to make sure that we do it across both sides. So now that that Basilicanum Grey is all dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Templar and we're going to paint this over the top of these armour panels. As you can see, over the top of Basilicanum Grey, Black Templar comes out nice and dark, which is why some metallics on those panels is generally okay. There's the Basilicanum Grey going on there first, by accident of course. just kind of takes off the edge of the metallic filter, as it were, and then the Black Templar afterwards will make it nice and dark. As you can see, you can't even see the metallic there on that shoulder, or on that knee pad, I should say, or thigh plate. My goodness me. I'm just going to get this all over, just like this. Now, in addition to this, what we're going to do is we're also going to use the Black Templar on any of those textured cables. So like this one just here, for example, and this one around here. Like that. And we're also going to use this Black Templar over the kind of servo, the soft bit between the knight's legs. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. We're going to use this to paint in all of our trim around the model. So with that done, pretty much all of our base coats are now on our War Dog's legs. So what it is time to do is time to add some shades. Now the first one we're going to make is a roughly 4 or 5 parts contrast medium to 1 part Black Templar. And we're going to be doing this all over all of the silver and all of the Castellax Bronze. We just want to get this on there. Just like this. Not really any science to this, you just want to really shade it right down. And so with that done, we're then going to take our roughly 4:1 mix of contrast medium and Wyldwood, and we're going to use this to shade all of the gold as well as the red. So we're just going to paint this over the top. Just like this. So with both of those shades applied, what we're going to do now is we're going to re-brighten up some of those metallics, and we're not going to do all of it just yet. But what we are going to do first is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to use this on the largest parts of the model, just to make them a little bit shinier, but we still want them to have that quite heavy industrial feel for our Chaos Knights. So for example, just around here, on this ball joint, we're just going to re-layer Iron Warriors. Just like this. So we've got that kind of ball joint just there. We've got areas such as the pistons of the legs. This flat section just here. See how it just creates a very subtle difference, but a nice one nonetheless. Do the ball joint on the ankle as well. Like that. And we don't need to worry about this kind of dome section because, you know, it's going to be hidden by the war dog's body. You don't have to get this perfectly right. It doesn't have to be every single section. What we're doing is we're just trying to create enough variation on the model where there's just some kind of various interesting light points as well. So that when we look at our war dogs, we can really tell a difference. And so with that done, we're going to do the exact same thing, but with Castellax Bronze. Over the Castellax Bronze areas, not over the silver areas. Just avoiding those recesses. So with both of those areas now brightened up, what we're going to do is we're going to add a dry brush. Now we're going to dry brush it all with some Stormhost Silver. And we're just going to be pretty careful here. And we don't want to make him too bright. But that said, if you do have any kind of slightly heavier sections or it looks a bit scratchy, that's okay, because that will blend into the sort of battle damaged aspect of these old corrupted Chaos Knights. Like I said, you just want to get this over all of the silver and all of the Castellax Bronze. So with that done, all of the silver and all of the bronze are now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the gold. And what we're going to do first for this is we're going to relayer it with some Skullcrusher Brass this time, not with Retributor Armour, because we want this to have a little bit more of a brighter feel. And that's important for later. When we come to weather it. So with that done, we're then going to make a roughly 2-part Stormhost Silver to 1-part Skullcrusher Brass mix. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the gold. We're just going to pick out all of the edges. Just like this. I'm going to also pick out any of the rivets. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Stormvermin Fur. And we're going to use this to highlight all of our black. And with that done, we're now going to take some Flayed One Flesh and we're going to apply this as a highlight to our skin banner. And so with that done, the legs are nearly finished. What's left to do is to take some Blood Angels Red and apply this over the Castellax Bronze on the smooth cables. So with that done, our War Dog's legs are now finished. And that's the dangers of it not being attached. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on from the legs. There they are, looking fantastic. We're going to move on and we're going to start work on the body. Now, fundamentally, a lot of this stuff is exactly the same. So the place we're going to start is with Iron Warriors. And we're going to be doing this all over the internal workings of our War Dog. Now we won't film this in too much detail because we've already seen it. However, there are a number of unique details on the War Dog's body. So we will film those, so don't worry. You're not going to miss out. But for now, I just want to go back to using Iron Warriors, getting it all over these inner workings. Just like this. So with that Iron Warriors applied, we then once again take some Castellax Bronze. We apply this to all of the areas that we want to be a different metallic. So I'm going for any pipes. And exhausts. Things like this. So with that Castellax Bronze applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to once again take some Basilicanum Grey. And we're going to apply this over all of the areas that are going to be black. So this is going to be basically the majority colour here. So we're going to get this all over the carapace, the back half of the pauldron, not the front part, because our design, or at least our colours, are a halved design. Like so. Again, doesn't matter too much if it's a little bit streaky because it is going to be black, so the black will cover over it nicely. Similarly, on the weapons, we're going to colour in the kind of casing areas. And with that Basilicanum Grey applied, you'll be shocked to hear we're going to apply Black Templar over the top. So with that done, what we're going to then do is take a roughly 2-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Skeleton Horde, and we're going to paint this over our remaining section of the shoulder pads. What we're going to do is just going to make contact with the model here. We're just going to gently brush this across the surface of the model to get a really nice clean pale bone finish, just like that. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. I'm going to use this to paint in all of the trim. Just like before. So with that done, it is now time to add some shades. Now we haven't done the horns, and we haven't done the viewing window, we haven't done the eyes yet, and there's a good reason for that. They're going to come a little bit later. Those are unique details, and right now we're working through stuff that we've already done, apart from those shoulder pads. That was unique as well. Anyway, we're going to be doing the shades. Now I'm just going to remove these because they are magnetized. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our 4 or 5 parts Contrast Medium to 1 part Black Templar mix, and we are going to once again use this to shade all of our silver and all of our Castellax Bronze, just like this. And we just want to get this all over. Just like this. Now painting this in this kind of sub-assembly, it does mean, unlike with the base, with the legs, you can only really do about half, leave it to dry for a little bit, and then go back to using it. Or you can try and prime it whilst it's on the legs, but for that, you'd have to be a really good balancer. So I recommend just doing 1 whole half and the back, popping it down, then doing the full underside, and then the other half. But whilst you're waiting, you of course can do the weapons if you've magnetized them. If you haven't, then no worries. Just take your time, make sure you get this Black Templar all over these details, and then once that's done, we'll come back. So with that done, we are once again going to take a roughly 4 or 5 parts Contrast Medium to 1 part Wyldwood mix, and we're going to use this to shade all of the gold. Still continuing with that same Contrast Medium and Wyldwood mix, we're going to use this to paint in the protruding horns on the carapace and on the shoulders. Just like this. So with that done, we're then going to take some thinned down Castellax Bronze, and we're going to paint this over the top of the eye lenses and the viewing port. And the reason we didn't do this at the same time as everything else is because these details don't really need a shade. They're just going to get some coloration and then some highlights, of course. just like that. Now what you can do at this juncture, because you've now got all of this on, you can now start doing the brightening up of those metallics once more. So we've got some thinned down Castellax Bronze on our brush, we might as well get to it. So we're just going to do the same thing as we did on the legs. For all the silver, all the bronze, and all the gold. So having done that Castellax Bronze relayer, I've actually gone ahead and done all of the metallics, as you can see. So the highlights on the gold, the relayering of the Skullcrusher Brass, the dry brush of the Stormhost Silver, all of that stuff. So if you want to remember how to do that, go back towards the beginning of this video and see how we did it on the legs. What we're going to do next, however, is we're going to take some Blood Angels Red. I'm going to apply this over the top of the viewing port and the eye lenses. Just like this. So with that done, we're then going to take some Evil Sunz Scarlet. I'm going to use this to highlight the viewing port and the eye lenses. So what we do on the viewing port here is we're just going to draw a reasonably wide highlight going around the bottom edge of the window. Like that. And then on the eye lenses, I'm just going to add a little dot. Towards the front of each of them. With that Evil Sunz Scarlet applied, we're then going to take some Fire Dragon Bright and we're going to add a highlight to our highlight. Just like that. Similarly on the eye lenses, just going to add an even smaller dot inside the Evil Sunz Scarlet one. Just like so. And with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Stormvermin Fur. I'm going to use this to highlight our black details. So with that now done, our war dog is actually, well, if you wanted to call it finished, you absolutely could. It's all highlighted, it's looking pretty cool, but there is obviously a few more things we're going to do, because we are doing House Korvax. So one of the things we are going to do is we're going to add some heraldic lines, and these are going to be on the back side of the port pauldrons. And we've got 3 diagonal lines that we're going to paint in. And the colour we're going to be using for this is Khorne Red. Now what we're going to do as our first one, and I'm just going to demonstrate here on this right hand side, is we're going to draw a kind of corner one in. So it goes from this kind of little point just here, going down into that little spike just there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to block that in with the Khorne Red. just like that. Our next one, it's going to go all the way over to the other side here, and what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line that goes from this kind of point just here, so we'll put a little dot there just to remind ourselves. It's going to go from there to the tip of this little spike just there. So we're going to bring it down at roughly the same angle. As this one over here, and then we're just going to kind of go from around about that rivet just there. Going to draw our second line, and then we're going to block it in. Kind of like that. And then our third and final line is going to come down, and it's basically going to sit in the middle of our, between here and here. So we're just going to start up here on the spike. I'm going to draw a reasonably straight line coming down to around about there, and then our next one comes next to it. I'm going to draw a reasonably straight line coming down like so, and then we're going to block them in. Now if you do make any mistakes, you can just grab some black Templar and go over it just to correct it, and it'll look pretty cool. And we're obviously going to neaten these up a little bit, but just for the sake of showing you where all the lines are placed, that's where they're placed. So with that all done, it is now time to get messy, because we're going to weather the hell out of this night. In fact, this is what it looks like as it's clean all together. It looks pretty cool, but we want this to be dirty, grimy, and scuffed. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take some Leadbelcher. I'm going to use this to add some little tiny scratch marks around the edges, just by kind of feathering away and adding little blobs of it here and there. I'm going to do this mostly on the black, but you could do this on any of the red details. Probably don't need to do it on the bone or the other metallics, just because it wouldn't really show up. Just a little bit here and there. Just like this sort of thing. So with that done, we're then going to add some patches of corrosion and rust, and what we're going to do is we're going to firstly take some Typhus Corrosion, and we're just going to stipple it in little areas. So I'm just going to use it just around here, over the top of those scratches that we've just done, just like that. Just kind of blobbing it in. I'm going to add a little bit of it, kind of sort of just around here. I'm going to add a big blob of it right there. And we'll add some, maybe just kind of on the weapon there like that. Add a little bit of it in this corner as well. And of course we can't forget to do the legs as well. So once that Typhus Corrosion is dry, we then take some Skrag Brown and we use this to gently dry brush over the top. And you don't want to catch all of it, you just want to kind of build it up right around the middle of those little splodges that you'll have placed in and around the model. So with that patches of rust and those little metallic nicks all done, what we're going to do now is going to add some grime and some horribleness to our knight. Because when you look at the House Korvax stuff, they're all covered in it. So we're going to be using 4 different paints. We're going to be using Contrast Medium, Wyldwood, Snakebite Leather, and Blood for the Blood God. Now, what we're going to do here on these shoulder pads is we're going to first grab some Contrast Medium, and then we're just going to add it in patches around the shoulder pad, just like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, grab some Blood for the Blood God, and then we're just going to add some blobs, like 1 and 2, 3, 4, I'm going to add one in the middle there like that, just like that. Wash the brush, grab some Snakebite Leather, and then we're just going to stipple that over the top of the blood, like so. Wash the brush, grab some Wyldwood, tiny amount here. I'm just going to add a little dot of it into each of those grimy bits. Then what we do is we wash the brush one more time, and then we just sort of move it around by stippling away at this section. We can wash the brush and just wipe some of it off to create some slight differences. We can always go back and grab some more of any of our paints that we want to add back in. So we could add a little bit more Blood for the Blood God there, add a little bit more of it in around, like so. You just want to kind of keep going until you're somewhat happy with the distribution of all of this horribleness. And that's pretty much it. You don't want to kind of do this all over the model. So we can just do it without the contrast medium should we wish. So we could just grab some Blood for the Blood God like that, for example. And we could just around, for example, this kind of area, just kind of stipple it on. Like that. Wash the brush. Grab a tiny bit of Snakebite Leather. Stipple that on as well. Wash the brush. Kind of lift some of it off. Move it around. You just want to kind of be messy and somewhat random here. What you can also do, for example, if you want to make any sort of spikes and things look proper horrible, is you can take some Blood for the Blood God. And for example, these chains just here, again, just dab it on. Don't brush it on. Just like that. Same on the weapon. We can just add it like so. Wash the brush. I would recommend on the weapons that you pick one of Snakebite Leather or Wyldwood, just to add a little bit of an alternate colour in there, so it's not just straight red. It's a little bit heavy just here, so I'm just going to move it around. just like that. You want to kind of build these effects up rather than just kind of start slathering it on. Just like this. You want to go all over the entire model this way, and then once that's done, we're pretty much finished. So with our war dog suitably weathered, as you can see, oh, dropping him again, he's looking pretty gross and horrible and like he's been through the wars, which he definitely has. There's only one thing left to do, and that is to work on the little banner, little skin banner. And well, what we're going to do is we're going to grab some blood for the blood god, and using the very tip of our brush, we're going to draw in some chaos runes. Now I'm going to basically draw one big one and then a bunch of kind of like scrawled scratchings around, and then kind of jobs are good and really. So what I'm going to do is I've got the transfer sheet in front of me, so I'm going to draw a rune going just across the middle here. So we've got a line going like that. I'm going to draw a line coming down, another line going across, like so. I'm going to draw two more lines coming down like that. Then I'm going to draw a dot on either side like that, so we get this really wet looking, well, carved rune. Then either side of it, we're just going to very haphazardly draw some little lines. So as all of our runes and our text painted on, we're then going to take some Magos Purple, and we're just going to dab most of it off on our thumb or palette, and we're going to effectively stipple this over the top of our banner in places to make it look like bruising. We then wash the brush, and then once again we're just going to stipple over that with a clean brush, move that paint around,
and so here we have it. Our war dogs are all complete. Yes, there are 3 here before you, and we did only paint 1 in the video, but the other 2 were done exactly the same way, and I thought it would be cool to show off war dogs in force. They just look really, really cool. Disgusting, don't get me wrong, but they just look fantastic, and I'm really, really pleased with how they've come out and the direction that I've taken with these Chaos Knights. Again, slightly a different way of painting for me, making them all grubby and dirty, but I really enjoyed it. Really cool. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, exactly like these awesome folks have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.